Most speakers normally just jump right in. I like to tread the waves of your energy. I want to feel who you are because every presentation I do, it's a different group. I'm not going to come up with anything really profound that you don't at some level. I'm expecting this group to be kind of new age and oriented. I'm not going to bring up any new territory, but I'm going to open windows and doors to what you already know. My job is to make you the teacher. My job is to make you the healer. My job is to make you know your oneness with the Creator. You don't got to go searching outside of yourself for anything. I'm not here to convert anybody to anything. I'm here to make you all lovers of God. That's all. Simple as that. So practice love, and we're all practicing the same religion. People ask me, what do I practice? I just practice one. And I was, what do you mean one? There's only one. There's one now, there's one moment, there's one time, there's one space, there's one consciousness. And when you realize, because I'm going to teach you something I've learned in two places, basically, my origins. The origin story is I lived in Hawaii as a teenager and I studied under Kahuna. I took that cultural heritage and mixed that with my yoga. And I'm a teacher of Kriya Yoga, in case you're wondering. And I've been practicing meditation since after 1946. Can't know when I started, but sometime after 1946. So I've been around a while practicing, even as a small infant child. So to me, this is not about Reverend Bill. You came to see me, don't. I hope you came to feel the love that I got to give and realize that you're a part of it. And it's so important now coming into 2024 when the expectations are so low worldwide for peace, harmony, love. Everybody's expecting to be this presidential war going on. You hate that guy, they hate your guy, everybody hates everybody, and then wars everywhere. Don't go there. Don't join the crowd. I really believe that in small groups, the individual practicing self love and sharing that self love in the radiance of those around them, it will profoundly affect the outcome of what happens this year. It doesn't take millions of people to change the world. Look how many people Jesus or Krishna or Buddha changed. One man or one woman can change millions. You do have power. Some of you come here and you're trying to help and heal the people in your lives. And what I'm telling you right now is I'm going to teach you to heal you first. Because if you don't love you, if you can't forgive you, if you can't fill your own cup up, there's nothing left for anyone else. But when you love yourself and you follow the Bible or any holy books, and it always says, love your neighbors yourself, but you're loving yourself. Well, I got to love my neighbor just like I love me, right? And love your enemy. Well, I got to love them just like I love me. And God is you and made you, and you're part of that. Well, then you got to love God too. So when you're loving yourself, you're loving God, and you're loving ever present beings that are all around you, all beings, dogs, cats, plants, mountains. It doesn't make it, you're loving it all. Because all of it is made from love. People ask me, what's your idea of God? Well, the only thing I understand is love. Now, if somebody wants to have an image of God as Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad, Jesus, God is very easy to, it's all right. God don't care. If that focuses your mind and focuses your heart on worship, it's all good. Doesn't matter. But it matters if there's love or not. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about, some of you may have watched some of my videos. I've had 3 near-death experiences. If you have an opportunity to watch those on YouTube, might be educational. But one thing I learned from all 3 of them, there is no death. Those have been meditating. If you reached any kind of higher states or altered states, samadhi or anything less than that or more than that, then you know there is no death. You also realize you're not this body that decays, rots, dies, goes to ashes, dust to dust. You are this one consciousness. So when I'm talking to you, if you wonder how I operate, I see all of you as me. Just a different reflection, wearing different clothes, meaning even your body's clothing, it's all one. So when I want love and peace and harmony and health for me, that's you, because you all are me. And you should be looking at me and the people around you the same way. There is no separation. None. That's like if you go through history and you look at all the great inventions, when Thomas Edison supposedly invented the electric light bulb. When he was doing that, there was about 5 or 6 other people in Russia and Europe and all kinds of people around the world were doing the same exact thing at the same time. They just, who's going to race down the patent office and get it, right? But they were all doing it. Same thing with the radio. Same thing with the airplane. The idea was there. That's like people were really impressed. Oh, Bill, you predicted this and that, and you can see the future. And I'm going, it's just science. It's just a matter of focusing on tomorrow. I tell people, I still remember tomorrow, but I don't know why I walked into the room, right? And they laugh, but I'm serious. Where you focus on your life is how you see the future or the past. Think about this, because I'm low tech. Okay, you guys are probably too young. All right. Remember Blockbuster?
Yeah.
Video cassettes, right? Yeah, okay, dog. Video cassettes. You go rent one and somebody didn't rewind it. It's in the middle someplace. You put it in there and you go, what? This guy's, wow, why are they picking on this guy? What's going on? You don't know what's happened because you didn't watch the beginning of the tape, previous lifetime, and you didn't watch the end of the tape, tomorrow, right? You're focused on this now moment and you can't understand why everything's happening to you. That's kind of like the VCR tape that you got. But on that VCR tape, all you have to do is spin it one way or the other way. It's forwards or back, and you know this whole story. And seeing the future or seeing the past or seeing now, it's the same effort because it all happens now. And I mean that. It can't happen anywhere else but in the now. So right now I'm looking at a room full of people, and I'm telling you right now that every one of you is an enlightened master. You just haven't seen that part of the VCR tape yet in your life. You believe who you are right now. That's what you're focused on. Now, this moment. But I see and feel much beyond that. That's why I can honestly state we're all on the bus together. I'm your bus driver, and I'm taking you to the top of the mountain. We're all going to get there. So don't worry about it. Well, you're going to get there before me. He's going to be more enlightened before me. I told you it's all now. There is nobody beating you to the finish. It's all now. But while you're focused in this particular moment of your delusional life, you think you got this life here, you believe it. So therefore, when you believe it, you have birth, you have pain, you have suffering, you have death, you have heaven, you have hell, you have reincarnation, you got angels, you got all this stuff. In reality, there's just Creator, love. And you say, I thought we'd come here for healing. This is all background, because understanding this does make a difference. And when you meditate, And if you're doing, how many people here do Kriya Yoga or something similar to, okay, that's very powerful. And they always tell you, for those that don't, I'll kind of explain a little bit, it's a technique, very highly advanced technique. But what makes it different, as well as some others that move Kundalini energy up and down the spine, is you transcend time. You say, well, if you do this, you're burning your karma. How's that possible? Because what you do in the now affects the past and it affects the future. So changing the now moment in your life, you've altered your future because you've changed the past. You say, well, how can that be? It's like, how many have had a Nadi palm leaf reading done? All right, in India, because I was ignorant. Well, some people say I was stupid. I was ignorant. I'll plead to that ignorance. I was at an ashram in India, and the guru comes to me and says, "Beer, why don't you go get a Nadi palm leaf reading done?" And I'm thinking, I don't want anybody to read my palm. What is this? A palm leaf reading. I go, I don't want fortune telling stuff. So he says, no. It's not fortune telling. It's much more. And I said, well, what is it? He says, these ancient rishis. This is kind of off subject, but it'll kind of lead you someplace if you give me a little time. And I'll tell you why I'm going through this. And you've been around enough to feel it, and same with Clay. I'm telling stories that seem, where's this going? It doesn't relate to the subject matter. What I'm really doing is altering your energy as we sit here. And if I get you to listen to what I'm doing, even if I bore you out of your mind is, if I make you numb, that's good. If I make you laugh, that's good. If I make you cry, that's good. If I can get you engaged in just receiving, it opens your heart chakra. I'm able to give you something. Because at the end of today, I'm going to do hands-on, and I'm going to charge each of your spiritual batteries, your energy, so you can do the healings for yourself. Okay? So Reverend Bill's just going to recharge you. AAA here coming out for your assistance. That's it. Right? No credit. So I'm going to tell a series of stories, and this is one of them. And it's interesting to understand this concept because what you've done in the past affects you in the now, and what you're doing in the now affects you in the future, right? We've got that. So you got an illness. You got health issues. The universe is not random in nature. It's not like, oh, we're going to give you lung cancer and you are going to give, broken bone or what. No, it's not that at all. There are no victims. Things that happen to you are gifts. You've created them. You've manifested everything in your life that happens to you. Everything. So I was in India. I was asking this guy, I'm sitting in his ashram or meditating at the temple, and I go, I said, because he made some kind of statement like that, and I'm going, well, how about divine grace, amazing grace? And he goes, even divine grace is earned. You did something, you repented, you were sorrowful, you cried out, you asked for God's help. You've done something. Even divine grace is earned. Okay. So with the Nadi palm leaf reading, here's the story. The story is from 2,500 years ago to over 5,000 years ago. I'm not exactly sure. It could be 6, 7, but over 5,000 years ago, the great rishis, these holy men in India, there's 18 of them, I think. And the first one, Augusta, that started this thing, they sat down and they channeled, just like you get channelers today, kind of, and they channeled the future lives of people that would be coming for this information. And it said that all those souls seeking it, there's one written for you. And I'm told that, and I'm going, yeah, sure, okay, yeah, all right, big deal. He goes, no. He says, this stuff was written down. And a scribe took and carved it on a palm leaf. You take a palm and you take all the fronds off it. You got this little piece of palm wood, and they would carve in there, and then they would shellac it, and it would last hundreds of years, and then somebody else had to redo it because it deteriorated. So the ones you're looking at, it's hard to tell how old they are. Also, in case somebody gets one, they go, well, it's not exact. Also, when people reinterpret it, when they redo it, anytime, it's like writing the Bible, every time somebody interprets it a little bit different. But if you're lucky and you're blessed, you'll get the pure thing. So I'm told that, I'm going, yeah, sure, well, I don't need this. And it's, it was like a bunch of $100. I'm going, I don't know. And he says, no, for you. I said, I don't believe in this. He says, no, but it believes in you. Go. It's an order. You go get it done, right? And while you're there, I want you to ask the guy, find out what your worst sin of your lifetime, of any lifetime, the worst sin you ever did. I'm going, what? I want to ask that? I go, what? Normally they don't ever do that. But in this case, he sent word to the guy in Pune, in India, where I had it done. And your task is, he asks you a series of questions. And if you say no to any of those questions, it's not your leaf. They stop. They just go to the next one. So they go to a batch. The best I could figure out, your thumbprint has 108 different variations, which, think about a zodiac. You got 12 signs in a zodiac. Well, the thumbprint's got like 108 different types, circles and dots and all that stuff. All right, so if you got millions of these things and you can divide it by 108, you still got millions of these things, right? But they come up, somehow they find it. That's the real mystery. So you go in there and he gets to the seventh one of these and he says, I believe intuitively this is the right one. So I'm saying, okay, all right, I'm open. But I'm not going to give him any clues. Just yes, no. And he goes, your name is 4 letters long. I'm thinking, Bill? Yeah, I don't go by William. Okay, I said yes. He says it starts with B. I go, okay, you got 27 guesses. Okay, I'll give you that. And he goes, it's Bill, or Bill, as they say in India, whatever it is, Bill. And then he says, and your name is exactly the same as your father's was, meaning he's dead, which he was. And I'm Junior, William Hector McDonald, Jr. So he says exactly the same as your father. I said, okay, great. That was a good guess. Maybe they went to the FBI or DMV and got my thumbprints. I don't know. So I'm kind of going, yeah, okay, fine. And then he goes, and his mother's name, and they had trouble with it, saying Marcella, because in India, that's a hard name. They don't know that name, Marcella. So he kind of sounded it, okay, it's Marcella. I go, yeah. And they said, was in that case, so she's died at the time too. So they showing that both parents had died. Then he goes, and your wife's name is, I said, okay, this would be good, right? Carol. And I'm going, wow. Because I'm staying at the ashram, and most people at the ashram didn't know that's my wife's name. And then you have 2 children and, a son first and a daughter. Goes through all this stuff. 40-some things hit right on. You write books. You're writing a book about your guru. You're a Shiva lover. And I didn't know how to answer that when I said, I don't know. So, and then he goes, you were born March 16th, 1946. I said, yeah. And he goes, but we're unsure of the time. I said, oh, great, they're not perfect, right? They're unsure of the time. We said, we think it's between 110 and 125. We're not sure. So we're going to make it this. And I'm going, what they didn't know was when I was born early. They were giving my mother a enema. You guys know what enema is? Okay. All right. She tried to tell them she was getting ready to deliver, and they go, oh, no, we're going to clean you out first. And guess what happened? I was born into a bedpan, head first into a metal bedpan. All right. And it's been uphill ever since. It's just been, that's about as humble beginning as you get. Anyway, so that's where it started. So when the doctor finally gets there, he asks the nurse and everybody what time I was born, and they go, I don't know, between 110 and 125. We don't know. So he divided and put it in the middle. Just the same thing and almost the same words that they used on this thing. They didn't know that that was a controversial thing. So it was like, wow, okay, that's interesting. So they went through this whole thing. They get through 40-some questions. And so then I ask, I said, okay, great, I'll pay for this stupid thing. I already know all this stuff, right? And he goes, no, 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 that's not your reading. That's just your index card. So now we can do your Vedic charts based on this, right? Who knew? So 6 hours later, I'm getting a reading, and they go through your past life, this life, forwards, backwards, which was interesting because they got the past perfect. They got the past 100%. So I thought, well, maybe the future will be. And then they give you a purpose. And in this case, they were asked to tell me my worst sin ever. I don't know if you guys are ready for this or not. Sri Lanka, okay? Used to be called Ceylon. I was a senior, according to them, I was a senior monk at my guru's ashram there. And I committed this terrible, terrible sin. I had a thought. I fell in love with somebody, a woman. Didn't do anything, didn't plan on doing anything, but I just thought, oh, she's a beautiful lady. I like her. That was it. And for that, my mind was cursed, and I was sent out from the ashram to wander. And the last days of that life, they couldn't tell how long. I was bathing in the Ganges River, or I come up, there's this blaze of light. Lord Shiva's there. You can't see Lord Shiva unless you're dead, right? Lord Shiva's there, and I disappear in a rainbow film, a rainbow body. I'm gone, right? And according to that reading, not me, according to the reading, makes a great story that for at least 20, 30 lifetimes, whatever they could go back to, that's always been my pattern. At the end of my life, I'd leave in a rainbow body. And I would come back voluntarily, live my life, not know why, how come. And at the end of my life, figure it out, do whatever I got to do at the end of my life, and then leave in a rainbow body. So it makes a good story. So anyway, bottom line is they predicted all these neat things. Everything they predicted except for my death happened. Everything, 100%. On the death, they had a little caveat. They said, first off, they don't tell death dates on readings. They don't. But they said, this chart stops in 2010. There's nothing beyond that. The only way it could continue is if Lord Shiva or Babaji ordered you, gave you more time to do something for the greater good. But it's not for you. It's not a gift for you. It's a gift for, it's work. Should you accept this, we disavow any knowledge of you, right? Mission impossible. All right. So here's where I'm going with this. So one of the predictions was that in 2011, I would go to southern India to the Shiva temple. And I would be there in the courtyard and looking at it all, and there'd be a hill off to the side. And then I would go walking uphill because waiting for me up at the top of that hill, and it would take me 2 to 4 hours, some time like that. When I got to the top of the hill, all the rishis would be waiting for me to join them, and that I wouldn't have any questions because I'd already know all the answers. I thought, what a stupid prediction. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'll go visit this temple. So I didn't have a lot of faith in it. When I had a major heart attack, meaning this is going to take quadruple bypass surgery in America. I had a major heart attack in Mumbai, and I went to ER, and next thing you know, I got to go home. I get on an airplane, I fly. They let me fly back home after going to ER. I'm going, this is really great, right? Let me on an airplane. Of course, I get blood clots, right? I collapse in Denver. I end up in Sacramento. They let me fly. After 6 hours of medical treatment in Colorado, they let me on an airplane to fly to Sacramento. I'm going, what part of this doesn't make any sense? But it's the universe controlling this, right? So it happens. So I get there. I'm 4 days in ICU. So normally about 4 days, because insurance companies, 4 days, you're out, man. You go home and recover at home. Don't do it at the hospital, right? Well, I'm there 4 days before I'm even operated on because I'm that weak. And I go into the operating room on the fourth day. It's early in the morning. They wheel me in, and there's a cold. Who's my doctor here? Where's she at? Every operating table that's metal, why do they got to be so damn cold? I'm just saying that. It's ice cold. And they got me stripped naked, butt naked. Nobody cares but me. I'm going, ooh, okay, I'm modest. All right. So I'm laying on this metal table. They got the thinnest of sheets underneath me. And my teeth are, chattering. And I'm sitting there naked and I'm going, hey guys, not even a heated blanket, right? So I asked the doctor, I said, okay, can you tell me what's going to happen? He says, we're going to rip open your chest, which is really a great way to start the conversation. I'm just going to rip open your chest. And he shows me these things. And I don't know if I don't remember correctly, but it almost looked like pruning shears he's going to use to cut my ribs. Looks like somebody's out there pruning their tree. I'm going, what? He goes, yeah, I'm going to cut this open. And I got this chest expander. I'm going to hold it open. And I'm going to go down there and I'm going to hook you up to a heart-lung machine. We're going to pump your oxygen into your blood so you don't have to breathe. The lungs will stop. And your heart will stop. And when you got your heart stopped, then we can cut and graft and do all these things to stop moving. And I looked at him, I said, my heart stopped? Am I not breathing? He goes, yeah, we got to kill you first before we save you. And I didn't see any humor at the time. I'm kind of going, I'm listening to him for real. I'm going, really? Really? He says, don't worry about it. Unless electricity goes off, we're okay. And he goes, I'm kidding, because I was looking serious at that time, right? Okay. I said, am I going to feel anything? He says, well, during the heart-lung machine stuff, we have to cut back on the anesthesia because, we don't want to, we got to keep you alive, right? So sometimes there's not enough anesthesia and a very small amount of people are going to feel pain. Okay. So I had that in my mind. So anyway, they give you the shot, you count backwards, and I go from a 100 to like 96 or 7, and boom, it's total darkness. It's black. Boom. I am totally out of that physical body that's laying on that table. I am not there. I'm not astral traveling. I'm not in a vision someplace. I am totally gone in another body. Looks exactly like me, except this one, because all of a sudden I find myself standing in southern India in this crowded plaza, right, with the the bricks or the stones on the ground, and I'm looking around thinking, well, last time I realized that I had no clothes on. Do I got clothes on? I'm looking, the first thing I checked, do I got clothes? Okay, I got clothes on. Test number 1. Number 2, people are bumping into me. I feel them breathing. I feel the sun. I'm sweating. I'm having this experience in a duplicate body, another body. It's me, but I'm in another body. The other body is getting mutilated and carved up like a turkey on the table, right? Thanksgiving Day for them. So I'm standing there and I'm looking. There's a temple. Outside the temple, there's a bull. I go, that's Shiva's bull. What is this? And then it's a Shiva temple. And I recognized it, even though I can't pronounce the name of it and I couldn't quite remember, but I remember being told, this is the temple you were supposed to go to. I think, well, maybe they didn't mean in real life. Maybe this is in this weird altered state, right? So I think, well, the operation is going to last about 8 hours. Let's go walk uphill. I got nothing else to do, right? So I'm walking up this hill. I have no idea how long because there's no time, right? I get at the top of this hill and this clearing, you have 18 rishis, plus that guru that sent me for the reading. Gordoff, he's standing there. And I walk in, I don't ask one question. There's logs people are sitting on, there's rocks, there's a fire, sacred fire. I just sit down and join them. I'm just got nothing going on. And then the guru guy that sent me for the reading, he's there going, yeah. You could skip a few beats, but don't give up heart. I'm going, yeah, okay, fine. But I had so much pain and misery and suffering from this heart. I mean, this is like my 10th heart attack, major heart attack and stuff. I mean, I had 8 stents and, but I mean, it was just crazy. And I'm going, yeah, okay, fine. And all of a sudden, there's this cloud over the hill, and I hear this voice. And it's always interesting to me because I've heard this voice many times. The voice of the divine is a feminine voice for me. It's always this beautiful 20-something sounding saintly angel voice. When you hear it, you know it. That's it. It's just it penetrates you like music. It's just, and you're embraced by the voice. And the voice says, Bill, you've done everything you're supposed to do. There's nothing on your list that you're required to do. You owe nobody anything, not even clay. You owe nobody nothing, right? So come, just give it up. Let it go. The heart, right? Just let it go. I promise you bliss, peace, joy, more than you'll ever know. And rest. No more pain. And then this guru keeps interrupting her saying, yeah, you can skip a few beats, but don't give up heart. And I go, why? She's promised me all this great stuff. What are you going to do for me, right? Anyway, so, and he looks at me and he goes, I promise you more pain and suffering than you ever had in your life. I'm thinking, what a great sales pitch. This guy's going to sell a lot of cars. Yeah, this is good, right? I go, what? He says, I promise you more suffering than you've ever had. See, in the past, you've had pain, you just use yoga techniques and things that naturally have. It's gone. It's like magic. Boom, drill your teeth, do whatever you want to do. It's just, but no more. You're going to feel more pain than you ever felt, and you're going to have to learn to do it and handle it like everybody else. And by doing so, you can teach others. I go, come on. And I go, what are the reasons you got? And so then he kind of does this hands, and the sky is a panorama, like a video scope of some kind, just face after face after face after face after face after face of people coming. And you've heard me say this before, and dogs and cats and birds. And I was told that I owed these people absolutely nothing, but they would all lose something of value by me not being there for them when they needed me. I'm going, come on, but this, you're promising me pain to go along? What kind of deal is this? So I'm going through this whole debate on this thing, and I keep going back and forth. And all of a sudden, back on the operating table, clear. The paddles, right? Yes, the paddles that woke you up. I'm sorry. And all of a sudden, my body jumps on the table. And as it's jumping on the table, I'm transposed from this beautiful body on this mountaintop, or hill, more likely a hill, this like clump, about 1,000 pounds of weight right inside this body. And my chest is still open. I had this tube down my throat, ventilating me. And it hurt. And it was uncomfortable. And I was thirsty to death. And I'm feeling all this pain as they're starting to wrap wire around the ribs, to hold the ribs together, because it's split right down the middle. And I hear this guy that sounds like the anesthesiologist. I'm praying it's not. And he's saying, hey, doc, it must have been one of the surgeons. He says, looks like he's feeling everything you're doing. Looks like the anesthesia's wore off. And the doctor goes, oh, don't worry about it. I only got another 40 minutes of sewing him up. I'm trying to talk. I'm going, I got a tube down my throat, right? I can't say nothing. And inside I'm going, hey, it's me. Come on. I feel everything. Come on. Anyway, so the very promise from the very beginning moments were there. I felt every agonizing pain, and this went on for 3 weeks. I mean, that's a long time to be in the hospital after surgery. And they just gave me 5 blood transfusions, and I was still bleeding and everything. And they were going to take me downstairs till about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. They were going to put me in a gurney. They were going to take me down to an emergency procedure. Didn't look good, and I'm going, I'm ready. Just let it go. I'm ready. Sorry. Even in spite of I seen all these faces, I was just saying, come on, got to be something else here. And the phone rings. And I know I got to answer it. And they go, no, we got you in the gurney. I go, no, it's the landline at the bedside, right, for the hospital phone. I don't know how they got my number there because nobody knew it. My wife, nobody knew the number. Anyway, so we pick it up and I go, and I sounded like Elmer Fudd, my voice was just, kind of graggly and everything. And I go, hello. And he goes, this is Gurnoff in India. And then in my mind, I'm going, yeah, I know so many Gurnoffs. I'm glad you narrowed it down just to one in India. He says, you can skip a few beats, but don't give up heart. I go, what? What'd you say? He says, you could skip a few beats, but don't give up heart. And now he's got my attention, right? And then he goes, still not ready. And then he goes, Bill, I just sent 100 people up to the temple, the Shiva temple, to pray for you. I told them I was going to heal you. Don't embarrass me. In other words, don't die. Make him look bad. I go, okay, fine. So I told my wife, I'll be out of here in 36 hours, and I was. Now, my last day in the hospital, we'll get to a Babaji story here. Last day in the hospital, I laying in the bed, and it's like somebody took a glass salad bowl or something, a big, huge one, and just put it over the bed, and it's like energy. It's like picturing this covering of energy over the bed, hospital bed. What's a hospital bed? 7, 8 feet long by whatever, just over there. And at the end of the bed, I see Babaji. Except this is my thing, right? So my Babaji is coming to America. He's got no shirt on. He's got long black hair. He's barefoot, but he's wearing Levi's. He's in a hospital after all, right? So, and he's pouring his fluid on my head and water, and he's chanting. And that's happening, and I'm going, this was my Nadi prediction. It said that Lord Shiva and the guy's Babaji or whatever saint was going to come and do this. And at the time I thought, yeah, sure, right. I didn't believe any of that stuff. And then it just all kept happening. This was one of the things that was predicted. So I thought, well, that's a great delusion. I saw it. Nobody's ever going to believe me, yada, yada, yada. I'm home. My adult daughter comes over and she goes, our neighbor, Dave, he went to see you at the hospital your last day, before he left. And I go, no, he didn't. He says, oh, yes, he did. I said, no, he didn't. I didn't see him. He said, yes. He told me, he says, he walked into the room and some crazy young Indian guy with no shirt and shoes on with long black hair, with this wet kind of body with his hair looked wet and everything. And he was pouring stuff on your head, chanting some crazy language. And he started to laugh and he didn't want to embarrass me, so he left. So I told my daughter, and she goes, oh my gosh. So it was confirmed. So sometimes you're lucky and blessed in life because a lot of you have seen angels in disguise and great ones. And you'll never know that. You won't know it. First off, a part of you won't remember that because you don't fully accept it, number one. Number two, you never talked about it and you've forgotten about it. And a lot of people discount, well, it must have been a dream. A lot of people just discount stuff away. But there's an opportunity once in a while where you get something happen and somebody witnesses it. The blessing is twofold. One, you had it happen. I knew it happened, but I could never talk about it because you talk it, yeah, sure. Now I have a witness who didn't believe in any of that stuff. All right. Healing. I'm just telling you that. I'm trying to warm up you from the inside. I kind of throw Babaji into the mix because I just felt right to do that with this group. I don't normally tell this story at my healings at all. Somebody wanted to talk, or somebody earlier wanted to talk about this. Somebody mentioned that. Yeah, there you did. All right, I hope I satisfied that desire that you had. I tried to tie it into what's going. But what I'm trying to do is create this feeling that your life follows what you love. Okay, I'm just throwing it. Love is blazing the trail. Love is your GPS. It's like this year. If you go in with fear, you will find more fearful things to ever be afraid of your entire life. It's going to be a terrible year for you, I guarantee it. If you believe it, it's going to be the worst year you ever had. But I'm telling you, this group, if you go in fearless, and what's the opposite of fear but love? You set what you want to have happen. I don't care if the rest of the world's going crazy. You listen to Reverend Bill, and I'm telling you, no, it's not. Because it's an inside thing. Angels have faces too. When I saw my wife look at our son, I knew love's deepest secret, that to know real love, you must become a mother with large brown angel eyes and angel face. I saw the joy in her love, and I knew that no husband or father could ever share or know such a moment. If angels have faces, then sometimes they must look like mothers. Sometimes they might even look like wives. But sometimes there's no difference. I know. I saw an angel, and she was my wife and mother of my son. So, what I'm trying to instill in you is there's magic. Life is not all this dreary stuff that you always hear about. And people, oh, woe is me, and everything goes good. I talked to a guy on the phone the other day. He was in London or someplace. Oh, it's going to be a terrible year. Every time I do stuff, it always turns to crap. This happens, that happens all my life. I said, is that what you believe? No, it's not what I believe. That's what happens. I said, oh, that's your world. Yeah, it's going to be the same way this year. And I said, yep. I didn't even argue with him. Yep. As you believe, you create. So when someone asks you, how do you feel? Unless a doctor asks you got to tell them what your symptoms are. But somebody asks you how you feel. People ask me, I mean, I could have just had a heart attack or something. People ask me how I feel. I feel great. I either feel great, I feel very good, or if I was any better, I'd be you. That's about my three responses. When you say I am, followed by whatever, you're creating and manifesting that energy. So you say, I am sick, I'm depressed, I'm this, I'm darkness, I'm diseased, I'm hurting, I'm unhappy. You're manifesting and giving great power to those aspects of yourself. And in truth, it is not yourself. It's like my body was going through some real things, and doctor asked me, I said, yeah, I said, my body is hurting. It's like that, what was that movie? The guy comes from another planet and he goes, my body is hurting, but I'm good, right? So it's the body's hurting. That's okay. The body is hurting. You can talk to third person, but you're good. So I just phrase it like that. How you talk about yourself is very, very important. Unfortunately, most people have a negative talk. They grow up in a household, and you don't have to raise your hands, but I'll guarantee you, most of you that are real seekers, you come from a crappy childhood. Things happen, right? Emotionally, spiritually abused, physically abused, maybe sexually abused, yelled at in a household of fear, anger, alcohol, raging, insanity, all these things. That's how we start off. And if you can check that on your checklist, welcome to the club. That means you're probably doing pretty well this time, because you got two choices when that happens. You can either become a saint or you can fall down, give up. But if any great saint had trials, tribulations, it makes them a worthy warrior for God. You got to go through these things. How can you have compassion and love for people if you didn't experience the opposite of that, knowing how it felt to be not receiving these things. That would be motivation to give it to somebody else. So part of this process, what I call self-love, this is not ego, like I love me, you know, because I'm the greatest. No, this is really about you're loving the one within you, because you are the one. So when you love you, you love all of you. The good, the bad, the indifferent. Makes no difference. Don't even label it. Just, all right, so let me kind of give you examples. Some of you saw earlier pictures when I had them on my phone. Some of my operations, this nose has been cut off 3 times in the last few years. I don't know if you noticed that. If you look at this nose is made out of my shoulder. And at the VA, which was a hack job, they're not exactly there to do anything other than make sure it's closed. But when they close it, I love it. And I give it love. And I give it love. And you'll see me, and you've seen pictures, and you know what I'm talking about. 3-4 weeks later, I look just like this. Even though I can go from 300 stitches and torn up, so bad my face looked that Facebook put me in Facebook jail for posting pictures of my own self, saying graphic and violent photos. It was a picture of me. A couple weeks after operation, I'm going, wow. So this is an inside job. I preface this by saying all healing is spiritual based. Number one, if you're spiritually not attuned to the source, to love, then some aspect of your body, mind, or spirit is going to be hurting, diseased. So working on one is not enough. You can't just work on the body without working on the mind, without working on the soul. Because if you truly want to heal, you got to walk your talk. You can't walk around and be a great physical, specimen and all that. And intellectually, you studied all that and you got all your degrees, but your moral life and your ethics are nowhere. It's like you got 3 tuning forks, one for the body, one for the mind, and one for the spirit. And they should all be vibrating in frequency together. You got one that's vibrating very low here, adultery and all these kind of things down here, right? And the others could be high, but you got to have all 3 vibrating together. So what I'm trying to do here today is to get you to vibrate your body, your mind, and your spirit. So later on, towards the end of this, when we're doing the hands-on healing, it's not your choice what you want. You want to leave it to God. Where do you need to work? Everybody will leave with a spiritual healing. That's my main goal. If your body gets healed, that's your choice. That's you and God. That's between you. If your mind and your emotions get healed, great. I'm happy for you. But when you die, you're just going to be taking that spirit with you, right? The body's... I had a friend, this guy, vegetarian, exercise, did everything, right? Did just like, kind of like me, right? Did everything, right? And yet he died. And in the paper it said died of natural causes. The guy was 40 years old. I'm going, he was perfectly healthy and he dies, natural causes. So it's like, what? So it's not about how much gas you got in the tank. It's where you're going. Are you going to enjoy the journey? Nobody here can guarantee how many days you got left. You don't. What you should do is guarantee the days you have left are in love and service. So I start every day off. Wake up. Okay, God, I'm here. Use me. Use me, whatever you need. Make me a tool in your toolbox. Maybe somebody needs a smile. Somebody needs a hug. Somebody needs information. Somebody needs love. Somebody needs just to listen to them. You want a power that most people don't have? Probably not too heavy on my own. No, not one of my great powers, being an Irishman, is listening. Think about your own life. One of the greatest illnesses worldwide, according to the United Nations, is loneliness. Worldwide loneliness. So, and you would think in this culture where we got iPhones, you can talk to anybody in the world, right? Anytime. Text. There's people sending 10,000 texts a week. I've heard that. And I couldn't believe teenagers could send 10,000 texts in a week. I mean, they must all day long go, boom, 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 right? And yet, they're lonely. Messaging and going on Facebook and going on TikTok is not the same thing as having real communication, because real communication is extending your vibration of who you are and your energy and your frequency with someone else. And they're not getting that. It's dead. It's just emojis and words, meaningless. Give your life meaning. Okay, let's start with when I was in the hospital. We're going to go back to the origin story of the healing. I was 8.5 years old. I was taken away, put in a county hospital, and told that I probably wasn't going to survive. My first night in the hospital, I had a near-death study, incident where I left experience. And without getting too deep in that, because that's another whole subject, except the fact that I had a near-death incident. And this time, instead of seeing a life review, what I've done, at 8.5 years old, there's nothing to review. I was given a 50-year forward look at significant events in my life. So I saw stuff from the age of 8.5 to 58.5. In fact, my review took me all the way to my desire to go to Babaji's cave. And when I went to Babaji's cave, 50 years to the week or the day, perhaps, because I don't know what day it was, I was at Babaji's cave and had my second near-death experience 50 years after the first one. And I'm going back this year to Babaji's cave, hopefully. We'll be there. Because I think it's time to share the love with more people. I think there was a bigger message there waiting for everybody. So, all right. So when I'm in the hospital, this is part of the story you don't know. I was in the hospital for 1 year. No school, no toys, no television, no landline phones, no books, no musical instruments, visitors, about 15 minutes once a week. That was it. So most people would be driven crazy being total bed rest for a year for an 8.5-year-old hyperactive kid. I wasn't. To me, I looked at it as, I'm a monk. I'm learning to be a monk apprentice. I mean, I was making up my own meditations. I was making them up, and then 50 years later, when I'm in India, I meet a Tibetan monk, doesn't speak English, I don't speak Tibetan. Spent 3 days with him, and he was teaching me this method of breathing in through the navel, up your spine, back down your spine. And I go, wait a minute, I made that up when I was a kid. I thought I made it up. So I made up all these things, I mean, I made up this thing, well, geez, if I push my eyes, I can make them look here, and then I can stick my fingers in my ears, and I don't have to hear all that noise from the nurses, and then I could do all this neat stuff, and I could see the spiritual eye. I thought that was, then I find out that's part of a technique, right? It's like, oh. So I also learned something from my mother. She was taking self-realization. How about self-realization fellowship? That ring a bell to anybody here? Okay. Paramahansa Yogananda came to America in 1920, started an organization, Self-Realization Fellowship. Didn't call it a church, he called it a fellowship. His desire, like my desire, should be your desire, is people join together in love. It's friendship, it's fellowship. And his first little temples he built, there were churches of all religions. He didn't exclude anybody. Didn't care what, in fact, whatever your religion was, he said, practice it. Just add this to it. This is just extra tool. People didn't realize how big that message really was. It's huge. But he knew Westerners would not sit down or stand up and do all these yoga postures. I mean, it's like devil worship or something back in the 1920s and 30s, like, oh, they're doing yoga. So he devised westernized exercises, and he watched, there was a weightlifter. Remember that? You guys are too, there's nobody old enough here. In the old days in the magazines, they used to have a picture of a big muscle guy walking down the beach, kicking sand on a skinny guy's face, at the beach on a blanket, the Charles Atlas method. And his method, Charles Atlas's, was to dynamic tension, which was stolen from Yogananda, which was to increase your strength, like you're lifting to pretend there's 100 pounds. I'm lifting that. It's like you're really lifting it. Your muscles feel like you're lifting it. You're not lifting anything. So he used that, plus he would have you channel and imagine and what's the word I'm looking for? Visualize energy coming from the source through the top of your skull, crown chakra, which I didn't know at that age. Top of my skull, this is cool. I'm visualizing in that little hospital bed, energy coming in. I'm laying there, energy's coming through my head, and I'm charging my body because I was supposedly, I had a disease there was no cure for, kidney disease. I should have been, forever sick. So I was using that to charge my body because I thought, okay, we charged it. Now what good is it? What do we do with it? You charge the battery up. What are you using the battery for, right? Well, in Yogananda's case, he's telling everybody you do this before you meditate because then it charges up your meditation. And I thought, no, that's too simple. Yogananda really had something deeper here. And what he really had was this energy changing frequency technique that was actually making you ready for meditation because it was actually changing your frequency. So it's all of a sudden you're, wow. And if I take that, I got power in here, I can transfer that to somebody. I could give love, I could give energy, and healing can take place. I got out of the hospital about a year later, well, almost a year. And the first couple of nights I was out of the hospital, me and my mother was in the front room, we heard angels singing. I mean, there's this loud choir of beautiful singing voices, and no television on, no radio on, no record player on, no neighbors. I mean, we walked around the whole neighborhood, and wherever we went, it was the same sound, no matter how far away we walked from the house. So my mother finally says, it must be angels singing. So it's okay, great. So the next day, our dog, beautiful dog, was a poodle. Not the miniature, but the next size up, whatever that is. What's that, miniature? And it's toy. Must have been a miniature. And it got run over by a car in front of our house about 40 miles an hour. And poor guy that hit it was all teary-eyed. The adult was crying. I mean, people feel bad hitting a dog. I mean, it's really amazing that people can have that. It's amazing how much emotion you can have for an animal. I think everybody does because dogs are really innocent, right? We love them. Okay? All right. Anyway, so the dog is out there. He's got blood coming out of the corners of his mouth, out of his nostrils, out of his eyes, out of his ears. He's flat. I pick him up and his tongue's hanging out. And the guy says, I'm sorry I killed your dog. I just picked the dog up because I had great love, and I brought him in the house. Being a 9.5-year-old now, that age, I go, wait a minute. I'm just going to charge him. I got all this energy in me, and I'm going to infuse it with love. And I put the dog on my lap, and I just visualized energy coming in, coming out my hands. And I just tightened up like I was, just like I was lifting weights. And I put my hands on the dog, and it was like static electricity, like, and it was like, clear. And the dog jumped up, ran around, like, that was it. And it never went to a vet. It was good for years. but it was the power that was generated by sincere love with the energy. They're married. Energy without love is not the right frequency. It's wasted energy. Energy infused, one with love, conquers everything. Everything. And it's that love. That's where we want to drive you to. All right. So then when I was 18 years old, believe it or not, I was 18 once upon a time. I was an old guy. So at 18 years old, I grabbed my surfboard, my wax, a couple swim trunks, packed my bags, got on a one-way ticket. 24 hours after high school graduation, I moved to Hawaii with $40. Not the smartest move I ever made, but I was blessed. My second day there, I knocked on this door. I was given an address. Well, my sister was dating some guy, and his grandfather was this kahuna. I didn't know what a kahuna was. Surfer. I'm thinking surfing, he's a big kahuna. Who cares? So I get there, I knock on this guy's door because I was told he could help me get a job. And he answers the door, and he's got this hair, white hair. He's got those big eyes. He's got earrings. Back then was a big deal, the little earrings, kind of like a yogi guy, and the dark skin. And he's staring at me. I'm like 18, and he's in his 60s. And he said he'd been waiting for me, and nobody told him I was coming. I said, what do you mean? So he went through this whole explanation that I'm 18 years old. He invites me in his house, right? I'm 18. I'm just there to surf, right? And he's saying, I was his kahuna in Hawaii during King Kamehameha's days. Everybody knows who King Kamehameha is, right? The conqueror of the islands? Okay, great. I'll sing the song then. All right. So, and I was his teacher, and I was his kahuna, and he'd been waiting to give me, he offered me his land, his property, his everything, all his special stuff, and, secret things and stuff. Offered me everything. I don't know. As I talked about earlier, I said, if I was that once upon a time, why do I want to repeat that? That's kind of repetitive. I mean, if I've already done that, why do it again, right? But he practiced something that at the time, the mainland didn't, they just became a state. The mainland didn't really know much about it. It hasn't been but the last 20 years or so that people talk about the Hawaiian philosophy of loving yourself, forgiving yourself, and being appreciative of all you have and all that kind of stuff, gratitude. That's new on the surface for people living here. But for true native Hawaiians, that's the culture. The culture's always been, if you want to heal somebody, heal yourself, pray for yourself, fix yourself, forgive yourself. Appreciate all that happens to you. Even the bad, everything happens for a reason, right? And that was the Hawaiian philosophy. At the time, he tells me, he says, I'm going to teach you how to heal somebody. Then he comes up with this, love yourself. Yeah, I'm going, good grief. Years later, seeing things in life and in action, I realize now, and going back to Hawaii, it'd be nice to pay homage to him. I realize now what a big deal that really was. How many 18-year-olds are given that lesson? Even if I didn't have a full impact, though, receiving it, I'm kind of going, yeah, okay, I'll file this away someday. Well, that someday came, and I go, wow, this is powerful stuff. And taking that with the yoga I learned when I was young, and then adding to that, to my frequency and to my energy, my multiple trips to India, spending 3-4 months at a time, going to Himalayas, caves, ashrams, wandering. I've met men and women, some I would never knew their name. They didn't speak the language, I didn't speak their language. I spent time with people, I learned more for people than total silence that I have from any lecture. Hope that doesn't apply here today for you guys, but learning is not just listening. Learning, and that's why I'm giving this to you slowly, learning is really about feeling. Anybody can learn a technique. Anybody can learn knowledge. Anybody can read a book, understand the book. I got a degree. I got this. I got that. Wisdom comes from within. And you don't need a college, university, master's, or doctorate's degree to have wisdom. There's a difference between wisdom and so-called learning intelligence stuff. It's like knowing data and knowing love. Two different things. So that's where I want to take you. So the first method I've applied in the last few years, let's start with the hands-on method. When my daughter, who's now retired, so when she was a college sophomore, I think, at Sacramento State, her and her friends went to Squaw Valley, which is improper to say. It's now Paradise Tahoe. Is that what it's called? Paradise Tahoe? Yeah, they changed the name. It's Paradise Tahoe. It's not Squaw Valley anymore. But she went down the slopes where they had the Olympics at. And she at night skiing on short skis, and she's not really a skier. Of course, what she's going to do, she's going to blow a knee out on a, downhill skiing from the Olympics, right? Come on. So she blew her knee out, and she's up at Tahoe, and her snowed in, and she can't get to a doctor, and it's all swollen up. She finally gets down to Kaiser, and it's all swollen up. And where's my doctor at? She's still there? All right. Apparently, if it's all swollen up, they'd like to wait till the swelling goes down to set it and stuff. I'm not a doctor. I don't know these things. But I'm called up. I'm in Washington, D.C. This is a story I have never told. I'm in Washington, D.C. Post office they just bought what used to be a convent for nuns. And so you were staying in these little rooms, to go to these classes and stuff. And they'd have curtains, and you pull the curtains back on the wall, and there was built-in recesses where they had the statues and all the stuff, and stained glass and stuff. I mean, it was just really cool. It was holy. I'm in my meditation room, and my brother-in-law was dying of cancer. My daughter was having this happen. And I had a picture of Paramahansa Yogananda sitting in my room, like my little cell, right? And there was a lamp next to it. And I wanted the lamp to light it up so I could meditate and have it lit up. I got there for the first week or two. I couldn't get the lamp to work. It would never work. I'd bang it, kick it, get new bulbs. It would never work. 4 o'clock in the morning, a thunder so loud it shakes the building. And when it's shaking, I hear the voice in the thunder telling me something. We'll talk about that later, maybe. But I'm hearing this message. And while that message is coming, 4 o'clock in the morning, that light magically goes on and lights up and never went off. Couldn't turn it off after that. It was on. Boom, there it was, lighting up Yogananda's picture. And when that happened, same exact time and hour and everything that my brother-in-law died of cancer. Yeah. And my daughter was going through this stuff. So the next day when she calls, she goes, Dad, I'm at Kaiser, and when the swelling goes down, they want to operate. And I go, no. She goes, Dad, I got x-rays here. I got 3 doctors. They're looking at it. They want to do surgery. I said, no, I'll be home in a week. Let them wait. No surgery. Nothing wrong with your knee. Dad, I got x-rays here. I said, there's nothing wrong with your knee. Her kneecap totally blown out. So I get home and I call her. I said, come here. I bring her into my meditation room. I lay her down on the carpet. I give her that same picture I brought back from the hotel. I took it with me in my luggage. And I said, hold this picture. Sit there. There's my Kriya beads, and I put them down. And then there's a little few details I didn't give before, just sake of you heard the story a couple times. I don't think you've ever heard this story. And then I reached down and I grabbed her kneecap and I gave it that dynamic tension. I visualized the energy going through. And it was my daughter. I had extreme love for her. I didn't want her to be in pain, suffering. And I just gave her the shot. And she was so willingly and openly receiving. Boom, 2 minutes. And I'm exhausted, you know. And then I said, take off the cast. It was one of those Velcro soft casts. Throw it over there. Throw your crutches over there. Now get up, get out of here. She got up, got out of here, walked. Nothing wrong. So she goes to the doctor, Kaiser, a couple days later for an appointment. She had an appointment with this surgeon. She walks in without the crutches and everything. She says, what are you doing here? She says, this is my pre-surgeon meeting. She says, well, obviously you don't need surgery. Who said you need surgery? He says, you did. So she looked at the x-rays and he shook his head and then she told him what I did. And he goes, well, this is Kaiser. We don't prescribe to miracles. We don't believe in them. I said, so tell your dad it's just healed. It's spontaneous. There's probably nothing wrong with it. I say, so she comes home. She goes, Dad, there was nothing wrong with it. Doctors say you didn't do nothing. I said, really? Okay, fine. So a couple days later, and I didn't wish this upon her. Don't even have that thought. But the universe decides that she's going to fall down the stairs at my house, and she blows it out worse than it was the first time. I mean, it's so painful. She is screaming bloody murder. I go. She limps in to do the same procedure again. Except this time when I get through with her, I plant a seed. Because people believe certain things, right? I want her to remember her doubt and what it caused and all that, right? And I just go, it's 95% healed. 5% you're going to feel just a little gitch in your step there for about 6 months. 6 months will be totally gone, like new. Damn, that's exactly what happened. So she just a little reminder for her. Miracles do happen. They really do. So that's this method. I use that method in India. I was crossing the Ganges River, coming back from Babaji's cave, and all these people stopped in traffic, you know, because in India, you cross the river, everybody gets their buckets of water and their containers and their jugs, and everybody runs down, fills it up, and go back. And the car is sitting in traffic, right? Stopping traffic. So everybody's filling up. And I'm sitting there, and there's a guy in front of us, an old man sitting on a tractor that's being a trailer of sugar beets being pulled by a tractor. This is an old guy. Me and him for like 20 minutes have been eyeballing each other, making a human connection. Eyeball to eyeball. Right? There was a love there. Anyway, a truck pulls in, a bus, knocks the tractor over, jackknifes. This guy flies off top, that lands on the cement, boom, on the street, and he's laying up. He's got blood just like the dog, blood coming out of his eyes, his nose, his corner of his mouth. His tongue's kind of hanging out, but his eyes are just open, staring. No pulse, no breath, no nothing. Just all the people walking over there, he's dead. They just walk, it's India, man. They just walk away, man. He's dead. Seen this before, done it. Moving on. It's another accident. And I come out of the car I'm in, and I go, no. And I pick him up, and he's dirty and he's grungy, and I'm looking at him thinking he could have some communicable disease, and I don't want to do that to my family. And I mean, I'm not going to give him artificial respiration or something. I'm not going to mouth to mouth or nothing. But I'm going to give him love. I don't have to worry about that. Give him love. And I took some water in a bottle, and I washed his face, cleaned the dirt off of it. I just held his hands, or his head in my hands. I love you. Babaji, bless this man. Looking around, he's wide awake. Love. That's love without the hands-on energy exchange. You don't even have to be in the same room. You don't have to be in the same city. You don't have to be in the same country. You don't have to be in the same world. You can even work on spiritual healing on people that have passed over. I don't talk about that before. That's another whole subject, but you can, because all time is now, and love is felt. So when you lose somebody, there's not anybody here that hasn't lost somebody. Everybody here has lost somebody. When you think of them with love, you're plugged in. You're connected. Your feelings is the connection. Love is the currency. Spend all you want. It's not wasted. If somebody's committed a suicide, especially send that person love. Because there's a lot of hurt, a lot of anger when they're gone. And they feel that on the other side. They feel everybody's mad at them and, and all this sadness they caused. They need to know that, no, it's okay. Yeah, it was bad, but we love you. We love you. Love conquers all. So for all of you, I'm saying, I want you to start with you. I don't care if you were told all your life, you're stupid, you're ugly, you're an idiot, you can never do anything, nobody wants you. I mean, all these things we tell kids. Adults are really terrible with children, even the best of them. And you grow up thinking, I'm nothing, because somebody planted that idea. I'm telling you, Reverend Bill's saying, I love you all. You're all enough. You don't have to do anything else. You're perfect just as you are. Just be you. That's your only job in life. Be you. You certainly could do a better job being me, but this job's taken. But be yourself, right? Be you. These techniques will overcome pain. The technique I'm going to show you is really simple. This first one. This is not a hands-on one. This is just one you can do on yourself. I used these when I had my nose surgically removed 3 times. I used these when I had top of my head cut off several times. When my cheeks were cut up. I mean, we're talking major stuff here for pain. And I would use this simple technique that I'm going to show you, which not only helps heal, or in some cases rapidly heal, in some cases really improves it. So I'd go and I'd get a nose cut off. I'm just being casual about this. I don't want to get too detailed, but it's not as much fun as it sounds. Just one, record to show that it's interesting. You wake up one day, you got no, that's interesting, but it's painful because not only is there stitches, they also burnt. Because they burnt. So you got burnt skin, you got stitches, and it's healing, and it's really. So when the local wears off and you go home, it's like your face is on a barbecue. I mean, it really feels bad. So I'd get home. And once I start practicing this, would mean I'd take my hands. You don't have to have your hands, but I expressed well, and I wanted. It was painful, so I really wanted to comfort myself, and I just cut my hands over my wounds in the area, and I just say, I love you, meaning I love the nose, I love the stitches, I love it all. I even love pain. I love it. I love me. I love me. Do it not out loud because people think you're crazy. This is a silent thing. I love me. And I looked at the cancer, since it's my enemy. I'm supposed to love my enemy. So I love the cancer. I love you, cancer. Now, notice when I was doing that, I never asked the divine source, God, whatever you want to call God, Jesus, whatever. I never said, hey, God, I got no nose. You got to help me heal. I never asked for any healings. Never asked for personal healing. Never. First off, if you talking to me? Yeah, you talking to me? God, look at that. You talking to me, Bill? Hey, come on. Yeah, anyway, if you have to ask for something, number one, you have no faith. God knows what you need. God knows what happened. And you're going to God and explaining to God, well, I got this, that, here's what I want you to do. No. You just go to God and say, give me the courage, give me the faith, give me the tools I need to handle this. whatever you want to do, the outcome's okay. I can live with the outcome. Because I went into surgeries several times where the cancer, I had big tumors underneath my orbital sockets, and they didn't know if the growth from when you cancer, like legs or I don't know, something comes out and it, gets in your eyeball, and they didn't know if they were going to have to remove my eyes. So I go into surgery, and the guy tells me, he goes, next time you might lose one or two eyes. I go, oh, okay, I need somebody to drive me home then, maybe, huh? He goes, yeah, that's a good idea. I said, okay. That was it. That was my total reaction. That's my total reaction. It's like, so be it. Whatever it is, it is. If it happens, it doesn't happen. It's not my choice. Whatever it's supposed to be. See, that's the attitude. Whatever is, is. You can say, oh my God, why me, Lord? Of course, God always tells me, why not you, Bill? You can handle it. Anyway, so don't ask, don't tell, just love. Just love. So I love my face. And then I used to do it for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And it would stop, pain would be gone. Then it was like 2 minutes. Then it was like 30 seconds. Then I'd just come home and look at myself with love and go, even though it looked terrible, I go, yeah, but I love me anyway. It's all good. Boom, gone. Now, one day I was severely tested. I lost 1.5 inches height in my spine. Not exactly sure how it happened all at once or what, but basically all the vertebrae collapsed at some point. And obviously it must have been cumulative over time, but it kind of collapsed. And they're like, everything's rubbing. I mean, the x-ray, there's no space. It's like terrible. I could barely move. I'm in great excruciating pain. And so I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit, I couldn't walk, couldn't lay down, couldn't get a prenatal, nothing. So I just go, hey, I go sit in front of my computer, turn it on, same way I did the others. And I was thinking, well, I just have to love it. It'll be okay. And that's all I thought was, all I gotta do is love my back. And then just the thought of doing that, it was gone. Now you got to realize there's power and energy involved here. So depending on your level of frequency, I just think now, oh, love, boom, it's gone, right? So then the following week, I eat a pitless prune, but it wasn't pitless, obviously. There's a problem here. I bite down into a pit, and it breaks 3 molars. 2 up, 1 down. Boom, they're shattered. I mean shattered. They're shards of teeth. There's like at least 7 or 8, 9 pieces. I mean, it's just pieces of, and they're down in the gum. You can see them poking the gum, and they're in the nerves. Anybody ever had a nerve problem with their teeth? When you breathe air over it goes, woo, cold water, oh boy, that's the way it was. And it was during COVID, and I didn't have a dentist. Tried to get an appointment. They didn't want no new patients. I finally got one guy. Okay, come in, I'll look at it. So I go in there and he x-rays it and he goes, yep, you got 3 broken teeth. Probably going to have to pull them. If I don't pull them, for sure I'm going to have to do 3 root canals and then I'll have to, we're talking crown molders if you really get lucky, and root canals. He says, but yeah, you're probably going to lose them. And, and then I got to sell you these. Started talking replacement, little screws that go in there for a tooth and everything. I'm going, and he's adding up in his mind how much money that's going to be, thousands of dollars. I know he is. So I said, okay, doc, whatever I got to do, do it. And he says, well, this is March, whatever year it was. And he says, we'll do it August 28th. I go, April, May, June, July, August, 5 months, right? So he goes, well, I'll try to squeeze you in if there's cancellation. I said, okay. So I go home and I'm going, nah, it's teeth. They're no different than a nose or a foot or a knee or any other part of the body. Because a lot of people tell you, you can't heal teeth. I mean, everybody believes that. Part of me did, but that's why I didn't try anything. But I'm going, well, that's the stupidest thing I ever did. It's my body. It's my teeth. So I sat there and I love my teeth. And I apologized to my teeth. I said, I'm sorry I broke you. I appreciated all the fine service you gave me. And I went on and on. And then I realized there was no pain. None. So I went down to test it. I had ice cold water from the ice box. You know, a little thing comes out, cold water. Nothing. Breathe, nothing. So the following week, there's a cancellation. I come in. And the guy goes, well, I hope you brought your checkbook, your credit card. I said, me and my partner, this dentist guy, me and my partner are ready for you. We canceled everything this morning. It's just you. You know, he's going to do this. I'm going to do this. We're going to. Less than an hour. He's done. He's just got his head down. He's shaking it. And I'm going, what's wrong? He says, well, I'm sorry. I didn't pull your teeth. Oh, well, that's okay, Doc. Yeah, that's all right. That's good. He says, I didn't do a root canal. I said, well, that's fine too. That's all right. He says, I didn't even get to put in a crown molar. I said, well, that's good. Good for you, Doc. I said, what'd you do? He said, well, I'm done, but that's $625. Anyway, these teeth were practically healed on their own. He gave it a little cosmetic patch, you know, no crown, no root canal. Love. Vitamin love. All right. So the first method is for you to take whatever part of your body is hurting. Seriously. You can touch. I did because it helped my energy, and I got good energy in my touch. You don't have to. You can imagine it. You can visualize it. Like if you got a bad liver or something, you can just imagine the liver, picture your heart, whatever, or you can put your hand there. And just visualize love. Surround it with love. Don't ask God to fix it. Because two things involved here. One, your body's working off karma. You're worried about the body, you take care of it. Now where's the karma going to be worked off? What do you want? But you don't want to be in pain. So I was advised, hey, do what you can. Maybe the pain will go. It's like my back. The pain went away, but my back is, if you got to look at an x-ray, it's still, it's all, on top of each other and it grinds. But if I don't feel anything, what's the difference? Who cares? So loving and forgiving yourself for whatever it is that you did to injure your body, whether it was too much alcohol or drugs or you did something wrong and you fell or whatever it is, apologize to your body. Forgive yourself for hurting it, breaking it. Forgive yourself for eating wrong. Forgive yourself for damaging your body. But the third part, most people don't do. That's have gratitude. Well, yeah, good. No. Be grateful for having it happen. Because it's always a gift. For example, had I not gone through all this stuff in the last few years, you guys wouldn't be listening to what I'm talking about. It was like, yeah, well, walk your talk. You're in pain, man, and there's this great theory. That's like going to an AA meeting and never drank, and you're telling these guys how to live their life, right? Listen to me, I know how to do it. No, you ain't been there. When it comes to pain, I've been there. And I'm telling you, you want to get rid of pain by backfilling that with love. Love is the antidote for pain. So when you have a burn or something, eye ache, you got something that's really big, if you focus on that pain and you fight it, it's only going to give it strength. For some reason, I feel like I should talk about pain management or a little bit of this group. So don't focus on your pain. Think of it as like elevator music. You get in there and it's always Barry Manilow. If you start hearing it, once you start hearing that, you'll hear Barry Manilow all day long. God curse, right? Oh, there he is singing again. All right. But if I go in an elevator, I don't hear nothing. It's like I'm in my own little world, right? That's what you got to be. You don't hear the elevator music, which is the pain. Accept the pain at some level. Don't think, I got to take a pain pill because you got pain. You know what? Pain is pain. Unless it's really, you got cancer of the spine, that's a whole different trip. You got a whole different level of pain. Moderate, really think about what you want to do. You always have that option. But if you can do it without it, or with half of that amount, do it. If you think you can conquer pain, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. It's like when I was in India and I'd be picking up snakes out, running around the grass or whatever, wild snakes. Oh my God. And I said, if you're not afraid of them, they won't bite you. Well, the guy goes, well, I'm afraid of them. I said, well, don't ever pick one up because it'll bite you. It's the same thing with the pain. If you're afraid of pain and you can't handle the pain, don't think about it. Don't fight it because you're only going to make it worse. But love is there. Now, if you have a child or a dog or a pet or somebody in your household, somebody that you love, and they're in pain, what can you do to help them? I'm telling you that love is transferable. Kindness and compassion does ease pain, even if it's not yours. Even if they don't fully buy in. For example, on a dog, what she's doing right there, when you're stroking a dog, petting a dog, handling a dog, especially dogs and cats in particular, you are emitting vibratorial energy and changing the frequency in that animal at a spiritual level. Dogs and cats, usually if they've been taken care of by good people and loved and they've served their masters well, they make that jump from the group soul to the individual soul and they start a lifetime as a person. That's why it's kindness to animals is really important. They have to move along too. But dogs and cats, most especially, where you're rubbing your energy on them. Your energy and your love will take away their pain and also help spiritually evolve them. And the reverse is true. When you're petting that dog or cat, their love is actually helping heal you as well. This is, what's the word I'm looking for? It's,
Reciprocity?
Yeah, there's another word for it. But anyway, it's kind of like on the rhinoceros, where it's got the little thing that's the little bird that eats the ticks away, symbiotic relationship. But us and pets, it's a two-way thing. And God help those who mishandle that and abuse animals and starve them and everything. So, but it's good for both the owner. That's why old people, when they get a dog, sometimes it's the best thing you can do for them. Get them a dog. It's a real, what greater friend can you have? Whatever you do, they still love you. How many of us are like a dog? Not many. Now we have limits. Now you kick me down, that's it. Ain't coming back. Dog, you kicked him. Well, okay, it's another day. Oh, you're home from work, right? So, all right, that's the self-loving, self-healing technique. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, each one of you are going to come up and have a chair here. I'm going to give you a recharge to help you with your individual frequency, to bring your energy up. You can, in turn, if your energy is up to the degree you're able to do it, you can use the same technique for your dogs, for your cats, for your children. If you have an older parent or somebody that's ill or something, you take, like when you're massaging their feet or something, or their shoulders, or you're working on them, you can still infuse them with their energy. The only thing holding this thing back is your frequency. Okay? Your frequency. What affects your frequency? Somebody was asking about meditation. You need to meditate. Meditation, deep meditation, changes your frequency more than anything else you can do. Kindness, compassion, change your frequency upward. Your diet, meaning not only what you eat and digest, but also what you read, what you watch, what you focus on. Are you watching loving videos on YouTube or are you watching pornography? I mean, there's a difference, right? Still watching. All these things have an effect on your frequency. For example, take a guess. You can listen to somebody playing a beautiful flute like earlier today, a beautiful flute, some spiritual little tune, or you can listen to rap music. Which one do you think is going to uplift your frequency? Without even thinking about it, yeah, okay, rap music, that's not good for my frequency. Lower vibration. Nothing against it. If somebody wants to listen to rap music, okay, it doesn't make any difference. But if that person wants to heal, advance, and spiritually evolve, then the kind of music you listen to is important. 90% of your body water? Is that what they say? Some large percent, right? Well, Dr. Emoto and all these other people saying, just putting a word on a bottle of water changes the frequency of the water and changes the crystal and everything else. So think about this when you go to get a tattoo done. If you got Born to Raise Hell on there or I'm a loser, those words have an impact on your entire body, which is made out of water. So if you are going to tat your body, put Babaji's face on there. Do something, love, right? And be careful when you get Chinese words or Japanese words where you don't know the language. Yeah, this is what it says. Then you go back and it says, oh, that's what it says. I have a lot of funny stories about that. People, oh, that looks good. Yeah, I like that. So, again, I say that because when you talk about yourself and when you think about yourself, it's like a tattoo. It's like labeling a bottle of water with love. You ever see that? They got bottles of water, they put love on there, and it changes it. It really changes it. Just think about love inside of you growing, what it does to all that, since you're almost all water. If it affects water, why wouldn't it affect every living cell and component of your body? I practice something called daily I die, I'm resurrected and newborn in the morning. In other words, when night comes, I take a look at my day and I go, wow, all these things. I don't want to be that person again. I got short-tempered on that. I wasn't patient here. I could have been more compassionate, blah, 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 whatever it was. And I'm going, that person's dying tonight. I'm going to bed. That person's gone. I'm waking up tomorrow morning and my intentions are to wake up new. Start a new me, a new you, a new everything, reborn. This is the meaning of being reborn. It's really reborn. You're changing who you are. Even if you have to pretend to be better, you pretend to be this, great person. You know what? You pretend long enough, you become. That's like one of Yogananda's stories that he talks about in India, where this hunter, he saw all these monks meditating around this game reserve, and the monk would sit there and the deer would come up and all the animals and stuff. And he goes, oh man, I could kill a lot of animals. Right? So he got himself a robe and he sat out there, and pretty soon all the animals started coming to him. And he did that for about a month, and then he was going to start hunting. And after a month, he couldn't do it. He pretended to be this holy, loving person with these animals, and by pretending, he became. So you kill off yourself. The next morning you wake up and your prayer should be, Lord, my intention today is to love and serve. Give those people that need your love and service, your love and service. Use me. I'm a tool. Use me. He's the one that's loving and serving them. That's the first thing. You're not. You're just making yourself a vessel to be used. You start every day like that. And then if you fail at night, forgive yourself. Go, you know what? I forgive me. But I'm killing that off. We're going to intention every day. The intention is you do the intention every morning. You're going to change. You're going to be better. You will.